All right, guys, we're almost to the end of 2024. I don't want to wish it away, but we're almost there. So the big question in real estate is, what are prices in 2025 going to do? Stick with me, and I'll share with you my thoughts.
You better get fired up.
Guys, good to see you. Happy Friday. We're here every single Friday with You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers at 11 o'clock. And today we're answering the question of, how much do you expect, Joe, prices to go up in 2025? So before I share with you my opinion, I'm going to share with you this. I looked up the National Association of Realtors, Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, Redfin, CoreLogic, and a couple different real estate brokerages, and all of them had increases in prices, expectations for increases in prices in 2025, ranging from 2.1% to 9%, okay? So this is a lot of different data coming from different people. That's, I suppose, the good news. Unless you're a buyer, then I suppose it's probably bad news. What are my thoughts on that? My thoughts are, there are going to be different markets throughout the nation. We're seeing it this year. We see it every single year. So what happens in Miami isn't necessarily what's going to happen in Denver. I think that Port St. Lucie specifically is a very unique market in that it is a big city. It's over 250,000 people. And it's one of the most affordable big cities. It's maybe the most affordable big city in Florida. It's one of the most affordable big cities in the nation. And we're surrounded by a bunch of large cities in Florida that are much less affordable, i.e. Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, right? All of these cities, I didn't even go to Fort Myers, Naples, Sarasota. All of these cities have a higher median price point for housing than we do. And not just a little bit higher, considerably higher. We're right around 420, 425 for the median single family home price. When you go down to Martin County and you look at Palm City, Stewart, Jensen Beach, you're looking in the low to mid sixes for a median price point. You go to West Palm Beach, it's a hair less than that. Fort Lauderdale, it's a hair more than that. Miami's even more than that. So you're looking at significant differences. When I'm looking at the buyers that are pouring into St. Lucie County right now, I don't know if I want to say majority. I'll say a good amount of the buyers coming in, these are my buyers, are coming in from one of those cities I just mentioned, because it's more affordable here than it is in those big cities, and they still get some, not all, of the big city things that they want, the amenities that they want. We're also getting a pouring in, not quite like 2-3 years ago, but we're still getting a pouring in from blue states. I hear people coming in, they were in blue states, they want to come to what is perceived now, at least in the most recent years, as one of the most red, if not the reddest state. So we're attracting those people. And a lot of them are coming from New York and New Jersey. A lot of people mention California. I don't get as much from California. I get a lot from New York and New Jersey. For all of those reasons, my guess, and this has been true over the last couple of years, is that the Port St. Lucie market is going to do better. Whether prices go up, down, whatever, Port St. Lucie is going to do better than the rest of the market on average. That's my perception. And I don't think that's going to change until affordability gets a little bit closer. Meaning, maybe West Palm Beach is at 620 and we're at 570. Okay, well, West Palm Beach has a little bit more than Port St. Lucie has. People will pay the extra 50 grand, they'll go to West Palm Beach. But when we're at 420 and they're at 620, 200 grand is just too much for a lot of people. I will say too, when you look at, median household incomes, that stretches, assuming you'll do whatever the bank says, right? But which, just because the bank says you're approved for 500 grand doesn't mean that your personal budget and your personal lifestyle is accommodating to that 500 grand in this example. If you were to do whatever the bank says, most typical incomes right now in the Port St. Lucie area, at least, are going to get you about a $350,000 to $400,000 home, right? A lot or less. That's like the median. That means for everyone that can afford a little bit more, there's one that can afford a little bit less. So my thought has always been that over time, not in a single year, but over time, prices can only go up in accordance with wages. Now, I said that 20 years ago when I started real estate, but what I wasn't accounting for, because it's gone up more than that on average, what I wasn't accounting for was the fact that people were not stretched. They weren't buying homes that they could barely squeak into. Not that some didn't, sure, some always will, but a lot of them didn't. A lot of them, when I was selling real estate, then of course, then I was in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and the average home was 165. That's crazy now. And if you were approved for 165, you weren't buying at 165. You were buying at 120, 130, whatever it is, because you wanted a cushion. Now people don't really have a choice with what they can afford. That's not the home that they want. If they go any lower, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So a lot of people are buying at literally what they can afford. For that reason, I don't understand mathematically how prices could go up 9% unless wages go up 9%. I'm also seeing here in Port St. Lucie, there's a 40-some percent increase in the amount of active inventory that we have, which hadn't been negative news all year because sales had also gone up at the same rate. So when inventory went up 20%, sales went up 20%. So it ate it all up. It didn't matter. Inventory went up 30%, sales were up 30%. Didn't matter. It ate it all up. Well, now I'm seeing sales start to slow down, and it's just that time of year. We've also got an election, which you only see once every 4 years, a presidential election. So is that really a downturn we're seeing in the market, or is it just because of the time of year we're seeing president election? We won't really know until probably the end of January or, middle of February, somewhere in that area. My guess, though, is wages are probably going to go up 3 to 4%. That's typically what they go up. It's usually right around inflation. And that's probably what we're going to see happen with housing. So if I was a betting man, although I'll say this too, I'm not overly confident on that. There's a million things that could happen. Look at when COVID hit. Who the heck knew that was coming? And that played a huge, and then when it did hit, go watch 10 realtors or lenders or economic, I don't even know what you call those people, analysts. When COVID hit, and you would have probably heard 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 telling you the market's going to plummet. The financial markets, the housing market, it's all going to plummet. What did it do? The opposite. 8, 9 out of 10 did not see that. I certainly didn't see it. I remember saying the market's going to tank, and it did the opposite. So you never know what's going to happen. I don't say that because I don't want you to listen to me and take any stock in what I'm saying. I say it because you can listen to Joe Rosen or Zillow or Realtor.com or National Association of Realtors all day long, but they're all guesses. And they all put the guesses out because they know you want to see the guesses and they know it's going to sell an article. But at the end of the day, that's all we're doing. It's not that crazy to think that prices would come down 4, 5, 6%. Certainly they could. It's not crazy to think that they go up 4, 5, 6%. I do think that the further away from those two numbers you go, if you want to talk about a 10, 15, 20% drop or a 10, 15, 20% increase, I think the odds, just looking historically year by year, the odds of a 10, 15, 20% increase or decrease in 2025 is pretty low. If I were to put a specific number on it, although again, I want to just state this is a guess, based on what I've seen historically, I would guess that there's a 10% chance, 15% chance, right? 1 in every 6 to 10 years that you're going to see a double-digit increase or decrease. And I'll say this too, if you go back and look at double-digit increases or decreases, there's going to be more double-digit increases than there are double-digit decreases. Why? Because over time, you've got inflation going up, housing follows it, wages follow it, the prices of goods follow it. So it's not that it can't come down. It can and it will. It's that over time, it's always going to go up more than it comes down. That's just the market following inflation. So I think it's a pretty good bet that we're going to see a 2 to 6% increase. Again, I think 3 to 4 is probably what we're going to see. I think that the likelihood of a double digit increase or decrease is 1 in 6 to 10, which is not good. You know, that's 10 to 15%. And I think that's what we're going to see. I will tell you this, though, with all that, you might be thinking, oh, this Joe guy, he's a smart guy. You could check back on this video every single year in November, December, whenever I do it, and you're going to hear roughly the same thing out of me for all the same reasons I just brought that up. And I'm not going to be accurate half the time because we're going to have some war or something in the financial markets or COVID or, you know, who knows what. And it's going to change public perception. It's going to change the underlying metrics, which impact both our financial markets and our housing markets. And just the narrative put out there, you know, we like to all think, myself included, you know, I've got an independent mind and I think for myself and I'm not, you know, in any way swayed by, you know, the news or social media. But I know as a nation that that's just not true. I remember one time there was a poll done and it said, imagine we're polling 100 people and we have to rank them from best driver to worst driver. Would you consider yourself in the top half? And it was 96% who said yes. Well, obviously that's not true, right? People think higher of themselves than is true in a lot of cases. And I think the ability to not be swayed by outside narratives is absolutely one of those things where we think we're stronger than we are. I see it. I think I'm a very sharp person. I think I'm very open-minded. But if I'm not vigilant with my mind, I'll be listening to something and I'll see myself buying into it. If there's some sort of narrative out there that's positive, prices could go up more than what I'm saying. That's negative, prices could go down more than what I'm saying. But again, there's nothing out there that would tell me you have to buy because prices are going to go way up or do not buy because prices are going to go way down. I don't see anything like that. In fact, if you're looking here in Port St. Lucie, again, when I'm saying the national markets are going to go up probably 3 to 4%, I would guess Port St. Lucie is going to go up 5, 6, 7% because of that. So I would actually guess the opposite of that. Do I think it matters if Trump gets in versus Harris? Certainly not just the president, but then all the things that fall under, you know, whichever party gets in impacts housing. You know, I would guess with Trump, everything I'm saying would probably still hold true for my guess. I've seen what he's done and I've heard all of his policies and what he'd like to do. The one big question mark with Harris would be she's got this big housing initiative, which I did a video on this a couple weeks ago. I don't know how I feel about this because I don't know how it's going to play out, and there's also not a lot of details on it. But if your parents have never, this is my understanding of it, maybe the policy has changed. If your parents have not owned a home and you have not owned a home, you can get up to $25,000 in down payment assistance to buy a home. Well, that's artificial money. And that money's not coming from nowhere. They're going to tax people more money to build up that cash reserve. And then for all those people who either haven't owned a home or their parents haven't owned a home, so if your parents have owned a home, this might not apply to you. They're going to get up to $25,000 in assistance. That is going to, you would think, economically, home prices will go up quickly. And in my opinion, artificially. I'm just not a fan of artificial anything. I don't like artificial anything. I am a big capitalist. I like the market to just play itself out. I don't like money printing. I don't like quantitative easing. I don't like, you know, pumping money into these programs. I know single mothers who I love and I want to see them win. And I know it's tough for them. And I'd love to see them get a program like that. And trust me, if I'm your realtor and there's that program, I'm going to get you in front of it. It's my job to represent you. I'm not here to represent the country. Someday when I'm running for president, I'll worry about the country. Right now, I'm worried about my buyers and my sellers. But as a policy, when we continue to tax, print, and then, quantitative easing on top of that, to me, it is a building bubble. And, I'm going down a rabbit hole now, but that is the one thing that could either bring us way up really fast. It could bring us way down because it backfires. I'm not 100% sure what I would be betting on at that point. But, and again, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a good thing for the people getting the money. I think it's a bad thing for everybody who's getting taxed to pay for it. I think it's a bad thing for, artificially raising home prices due to it. But I also don't know all the details of how the plan will be played out. So there's a lot of potential pros and cons. We'll see. I would love your thoughts because I know you guys are hearing different articles that I maybe haven't read, or you're listening to other videos, reading other books. I would love to hear what you think home prices will do, and not just what will they do, but why. Give me a sentence or two on why, and let me know because sometimes you guys teach me more than I teach you. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me again. We're here every single Friday where we answer your questions on You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers at 11 o'clock. Take care, guys.